Hello and welcome to another edition of Aviation This Week. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo, standing in for your regular anchor, Bukola Joe Ketumbi. On the program this week, we'll review the dispute between the Imo State government and the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress, as both parties trade blames on the attack on its members, and especially as the NLC calls on the leadership of the Aviation Union to wade in on the matter. Coming up also on the program, the federal government is considering revenue generation in the aviation sector through the introduction of charges on helicopters landing at airports. But first, we'll begin in Imo State. Aviation professionals are still carrying on with their duties, regardless of the dispute between the NLC and the state government. Details in this report.
Reactions have continued to trail the dispute between Imo State government and the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress, headed by Comrade Joe Ajero. This is coming after a statement credited to the leadership of the NLC directing workers in all sectors in the state to embark on an indefinite strike, including shutting down the Simon Bakwe International Airport in the area by the National Union of Air Transport Employees. However, the leadership of NLC and TUC in Imo State is dissociating itself from the purported strike, advising the national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Imo State government to choose the path of peaceful resolution of issues. The NLC has alleged that the agents of Imo State government unleashed mayhem on the aviation transport workers. Nigeria Labour Congress Joe Ajero on the 7th of March 2023 accused the state government of sending security operatives to disrupt and beat up officials who came to serve as returning officers for the state delegate conference held in Owerri. Thereafter, the NLC directed its workers to shut down all services in the state, including the aviation sector at the Imo Airport, with effect from 8th of March 2023 due to what the leadership of the NLC tagged militarization and brutalization of Congress members in Imo State by the state government. However, in a press conference, the leadership of the TUC and NLC in Imo State debunked brutalization.
In case there is any way we have been linked to it, we are totally against it, because it is embarrassing, so to speak, to the government. Without negotiation, there were no outstanding issues. And it makes me even feel that they had a delegate conference on Tuesday, and by Wednesday or Thursday, you are declaring strike. That means the strike was pre-planned. You understand? It might put ideas into some people's head that the strike was pre-planned before they even embarked on the conference.
We are getting reports that blood were shed, people were killed in that place. DSS they were there. Police, they were there till the end of the cancellation of that election. They will testify whether there is any rancor in that place on that day. Nobody was killed, no blood was shed. Then at the end of that cancellation, within 2 hours, what we heard is that caretaker committee have been formed from Abuja. Using my opponent, who is contesting with me, to make the chairman of that committee. So we looked at it as an aberration, meaning there is an interest. So we said, no, we cannot continue to abhor anomalies. So based on that, we said we are going to have press conference to let the public know our stand. And I want to inform you also that after that announcement of strike came on board, that Imo workers should enter into their houses, that they should not go to their workplaces again from yesterday.
A visit to the Simon Bakwe Airport in Owerri shows that normal business activity is going on without interruption, as flights in and out of Owerri seem not to be affected by the strike action called by the leadership of the NLC. Meanwhile, the leadership of NLC, on the other hand, has announced a 7-man caretaker committee to run affairs of the Nigeria Labour Congress in Imo State.
And up next, the federal government has its eye on improving revenue generation in the aviation sector and is considering ways of collecting landing fees from helicopters operating in the Nigerian airspace.
In the quest for improved revenue generation in the aviation sector, the federal government, through the Ministry of Aviation, is looking at ways of collecting landing fees from helicopters operating in the Nigerian airspace. With an eye on this, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, has inaugurated the latest batch of trained helicopter monitoring officers at the international wing of the Port Harcourt International Airport in the River State capital. The canopy at the international wing of the Port Harcourt International Airport is filled with the recently trained helicopter monitoring officers in the sky blue tops and black trousers, as well as security personnel and other stakeholders in the aviation sector. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, who is represented by the Director of Human Resources at the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, Mr. Norris Anozie, reiterates the resolve of the federal government to improve revenue collection in the aviation industry.
As part of the government's concerned effort to secure the Nigerian airspace and increase revenue generation and employment creation, my ministry is committed to the establishment of appropriate public-private partnership to fast-track the successful deployment of relevant and state-of-the-art innovative technology solution for effective monitoring of helicopter movements across the country.
Appreciating the gesture, the host of the event lauded the new innovations brought in by the minister to improve the sector.
I want to thank the Honorable Minister of Aviation, distinguished Senator Hadi Sirika, for the commitment and true leadership and the professionalism in aligning the industry with international convention and best practice.
Then, inauguration of the trainees begins before the commissioning of the helicopter monitoring facility at the airport.
Let's celebrate them, because we know that they will go forth and make all of us here proud. So please, put your hands together for every one of them here.
I also commissioned and opened this room.
So, this is actually the data room. In this place you can review all the aerodrome, airstrips, and all that. Like this is Bonnie.
One of the newly trained helicopter monitoring officers explains the job description of the agency.
You know, you have locations, facilities on and offshore. So anywhere, wherever you have a helipad, you know, or landing pad, helicopter landing pad, that's where we operate, whether private or government.
The helicopter monitoring officers are vested with the responsibility of collecting landing fees on behalf of the federal government. For some, the Naira redesign policy is creating too much suffering for Nigerians and also slowing down the economy. Others believe that beyond the negative impact on the economy, there is currently a low perception of governance. The aviation sector is also experiencing its fair share of the challenges. The domestic terminal of the Muritala Mohammed Airport in Lagos is filled with intending passengers waiting to board their flights. Some of them expressed their displeasure on the current Naira swap crisis.
I left home because I couldn't get cash to actually take me down from my exact location to the airport. I needed to wait for someone who had enough cash to actually walk down to my place. And you could look at the time, between the time I stay at my 12. If you look at between someone that is coming from Surulere, just because I couldn't have a cash to meet up at the airport, and join me at my 12. Look at the time, and I had a flight for 11:30 this morning. So before that person could even meet me at my own place, before I could walk down here, I got here at exactly 11 o'clock, and they said the flight I missed the flight already.
You can see I've been standing here for the past 30 minutes trying to collect my ticket. Unfortunately, the system is down. So obviously, the infrastructure is not ready for the cashless policy. And as far as we are concerned, the policy is a good one. It is what is involved all over the world. And we believe it's going to help the government in generating more revenue when you transact via cashless policy. And in fact, it will reduce corruption.
Low activities at the Ibadan airport. For some of the passengers, the Naira policy is a welcome idea, but the timing is inappropriate.
As a traveler, it's been difficult as well, because getting here this morning, I booked online, so that did not really pose a problem. So in a way, it has really affected in a great deal. But at the same time, on the flip side of it, it's a way of trying to make our Naira to have value. You know, when you see someone holding 1,000 Naira right now, you would know that, oh, he's holding a cash. But just like in the past that it was so cheap to hold on to Naira, 1,000 Naira. But now when you see 1,000 Naira, you will really appreciate it.
It's a different atmosphere at the Abuja airport. Passenger traffic is a bit on the high side, but the story is the same. Some of them appeal to the government to make the old and new Naira notes legal tender.
Why would the government do something like this and they are not really thinking about the poor masses? It's not really right. For me, I feel it's not right. I feel they should have any of the policy the government is doing should have a kind of human face. And then if they experience some difficulty, there's nothing wrong in coming around and saying that, okay, we didn't really assess this thing properly. We are revisiting it. Okay, we are reviewing it. It's okay to review it. It's done everywhere in the world. As far as there are complaints, it will be assessed properly, and then decisions can be made if they have to review or not. I feel that they should allow both old currency and the new currency to go on to run simultaneously for maybe another, like the president said 60 days for the 200 Naira note. It could run for both, for the other two as well.
In Kaduna, the airport is almost a shadow of itself. The service providers are also unhappy with the policy implementation.
Most of our customers here, they do transfer. They don't come with money. That is it.
It is really biting hard. It has affected the influx of passengers here and possibly other transactions around the airport. On the normal times, on a normal day, we operate a full capacity of flight operations. For assistance, we operate between 50 to 60 passengers as against the 120, 126. So it's really biting hard.
Passengers at the Asaba International Airport also share their views.
Majority don't have access to the money now. But I'm looking at it as something that is temporary. Why not we enjoy it for this 15 to 16 days? I believe things will go back to normal.
Well, for entry into the airport at the gates, you can transfer through your app, and then there's also POS that's available for payments. And we know it's an airport that is very busy, and then we've also increased the number of POS we have there to ensure quick passenger and the facilitation of movement and the people into the airport.
For now, Nigerians are eager to put the challenges of the Naira redesign behind them and move on with their normal lives.
When we return from this break, we'll speak with an aviation professional, Mr. Bankole Bernard, who weighs in on the impact of the cash crunch on the aviation sector. Welcome back. The cash crunch may not have had a debilitating effect as it has been having on other sectors of the economy on the aviation sector, because aviation practitioners say clients hardly use cash for over-the-counter bookings. But Mr. Bankole Bernard gives us a more expansive view on this discussion.
The great thing about the aviation industry is that for quite some time, it's a global trend. The aviation industry had always started going cashless. You can now buy your ticket. You don't need to pay. You don't need to carry a whole lot of money, cash, to go and pay for your ticket. I think very few people these days ever pay for their tickets with cash. They pay online. Those who go to the airlines pull out their ATM card and pay. So when it comes to tickets, the Naira policy is not affecting it. Yes, it's not affecting it. But if you are talking about the aviation sector, there are so many pennies. So the aviation sector is not just the airlines. There are many vendors in the aviation sector. There are properly organized vendors that have POS machines, and you can pay there. Sometimes you can transfer. But there are many others who don't have such facilities. That the people that feel the impact of the Naira design policy. You can't buy things. They can't say. People who sell small things at the airport, but they make up the airport community. They provide services at the airport. And so you can't pay them. Luckily, taxes now you can transfer for them. But there are many other people, even sometimes when you transfer, the transfers don't go. But you cannot go to the airport, buy something for 200 Naira or 300 Naira and asking you to transfer. There are also many people who don't have transfer apps in their phones. And so that creates some difficulties. So there are people who are who are heavily impacted by the policy. But generally, if it comes to the main airline operations and some of those things, they are not, because even when there was no cashless policy or when this design had not come, tickets have always been bought online, no longer cash. Like every sector of the economy, will be impacted by the general state of the economy, whether people have the expendable funds with them, whether they don't have. But like I said to you, the industry has already gone virtually cashless. The major sectors of the industry have virtually gone cashless. So it is not new to the industry. So industry operates properly, apart from the few people. I'm not saying few. The few businesses, there are many because they are small, but they provide services. Those are the people that are impacted. But the truth of it is that people still travel because they have no challenge in terms of how to buy ticket and how not to buy ticket. But I don't also think, although I don't have records immediately in my hand, but I don't think I've flown a lot, even with the cashless policy. I've flown and the airports were full. The aircrafts were full. The passengers, we had enough passengers. I traveled about less than 2 weeks ago. That was the last time I traveled. But before then, I had also traveled. The airlines were not empty. Carriers, the way they purchase, they don't pay with cash. They don't pay with cash. They pay still through the same system. But because of the relationship between the aviation fuel suppliers and the airlines, sometimes because of indebtedness, the aviation, the fuel Jet A1 supplier sometimes want to be paid before they supply, or give you just a few days or what to pay. But if they are their regular customers and there's a relationship, they don't hold you onto that. So, and even when they pay, it is still through the banking system. They can issue checks and everything. No Jet A1 supplier demands cash from from airline operators. It is the function of the air traffic controllers. When you come to this, it is NAMA, okay, the Nigeria Space Management Agency. And today one can put his hand on the chest and say, we have highly professionalized air traffic controllers. It's one of the still professional segment of the industry that is standing high, and they know what to do, and they are up to it. For a long time, remember, for a long time, for so many years, the domestic runway was only daylight for daylight operations because there were no runway lights. And at night, and we had many flights at night, domestic flights, along with international, they were all managed. They were properly managed. There were no incidents. So this is the same thing. Is the air traffic control know what to separate, how to separate the airlines and when to land. So they are up to it. I don't think that the delay they're anticipating is not that minimal. Sometimes the truth of it is that when the airspace is congested, there'll be some delays. Some aircraft will be on hold, put on hold up there, depending on how they arrive. Once they arrive, they get them land, and then they pass them. So you might be coming in, and you find that there are other aircraft landing or taking off. They can put you on hold. Maybe you have to, turn around and come back to land. There will be delays, but it will be minimal. It will be minimal, but those delays come when, particularly maybe at night when there's congestion. Because at night, that's when most international flights arrive and take off. But we now have also domestic operations. Domestic airlines operate now a lot at night also. So, but like I say to you, our air traffic controllers are tops on it, and they can separate, they can manage the airspace properly. Landing and takeoff will not be an issue.
Now let's take a connecting flight out of Nigeria as we head to Europe, where a German company is investing in hydrogen-powered jets and carriers.
A German company that specializes in developing hydrogen-electric aviation technology has recently refitted a hydrogen-powered aircraft and operated the aircraft into the sky as the country is striving to ease the energy crisis. The four-seater aircraft, powered entirely by hydrogen, has taken test flight for over 100 hours. As hydrogen-powered aircraft can achieve zero greenhouse gas emission, and the fuel costs are 2/3 cheaper than aviation kerosene costs at present, several companies in Europe and the US are developing and testing hydrogen-powered aircraft. The German company is currently working on refitting a 40-seat hydrogen-powered aircraft, which the company expects to take test flight in 2025 and put into commercial operations in 2029.
We will have an electric motor, so the propeller here will stay the same. Exactly, so we will have here the fuel cell inside, and then the next part will be the motor here.
According to the emission reduction plan formulated by the European Union, the region will ban the sale of fuel vehicles by 2035 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and 2023 will witness the accelerated development of new energy vehicles. For many, expectations are high, with anticipated positive impact on the environment.
And this is where we touch down on this edition of Aviation This Week. Thank you for watching. Join us again next week for more aviation stories. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Bye for now.